Science communicators, and I guess communicators in general, know that the world of communication and the world of media is changing rapidly at the moment. There's a huge landslide happening in terms of platforms and tools and tactics out there. And I guess one of the hot topics around is how is social media changing the practice and the theory of science communication?
Well, I think social media is certainly changing the practice, and increasingly researchers are looking at how it's working or not working and coming up with things to do with that. But I think in some ways social media is a real tool that I think scientists can find useful in their communication, and science communicators. And in some ways the media part of social media is a bit of a misnomer, because it's not just about media, it's not just about getting out to a mass of people. Social media can be used on a very personal level as well, to have one-on-one conversations and engagement with people. So it's, in many ways, social media is more about the possibility of two-way interactions as well, or multiple interactions happening. And I think that's very exciting as well. And researchers are beginning to look at the possibility of multiple interactions. In my research, I've been looking at controversy, in particular climate change controversy, and looking at climate change blogs and whether they offer any possibility for engagement with science. But I've found so far that mostly they're very polarised, and that people are talking to each other within their own communities. So perhaps not a useful science communication tool in controversial, politically polarised issues.
Sometimes you would hear people say, I just don't have the time, and every day I look, there's another platform or another kind of social media tool out there. How would you advise people on the time issue and the best, maybe 2 or 3 platforms to select that is best suited to science communication?
Well, the thing I like about social media is that it can be so quick. Compared to any other form of communication, it can be so quick and immediate. And because of that, there are risks involved as well, of course, that you might quickly write something and tweet it that you wish you hadn't, for example. So you do need to be careful with that communication, but it is so quick and immediate that it works really well. And I actually think that time issue is that it can add on to things that you're already doing with very little effort and have a bigger effect. So, for example, if you're at a conference, which is part of your science communication, in one thing in your science communication toolbox where you're communicating with your peers, you can tweet interesting articles and in that way raise your profile. You can also arrange to meet people over Twitter. You might write a short little blog that the media are interested in. And so to me, it makes communication, can make communication much more personal, but it can add value at very little extra effort to what you're already doing. For example, if you're giving a presentation, you can make that available on SlideShare, which is available to anyone who follows what SlideShares you do on the internet. So there are many tools that you can use. In terms of my favourite tools, I like Twitter. It's probably my most favourite tool, and I like it because it does 3 things in terms of building. So it builds a profile. So I feel like I've gained a wider international profile because of Twitter. And the way I've done that is when I read interesting articles, I tweet about it. Or if I write interesting articles, I tweet about it. And people have started to follow me, I think, because they see that the sort of articles I've been tweeting are things that they're also interested in. So that's increased my profile. The second thing is that it helps me to build a network. So I've made contacts across the world through Twitter, through people retweeting me, starting to follow me, or even sending me tweet messages and asking me about whether I'm going to a conference or whatever. So it's expanding and building my network. And thirdly, it's a very useful tool for building my understanding of what are the big trends in science communication, for example. So #SciComm, do a search on that and you can find what the current issues are that are being debated across the world or communicated across the world about science communication with your peers. So it builds my understanding of what's happening in my own field. But likewise, if I was working with a researcher, we could search on issues that impact on his research or her research, and find out what's happening in that field. So it builds understanding, I think. I also like blogs, but they can be a little time consuming. But I know, for example, one organisation that does forestry research in Indonesia, they just use blogs now as a way of communicating with the media and with the people who are interested in their research. And so many journalists will pick up on those blogs. That gives them absolute control over it gives them very good control over the sort of exposure that they have. And they have many thousands of followers of their blog, which they regularly post. So I also like blogs as well.
I really like the idea of thinking of science social media tools as value adding and not as a new thing that stands all on its own that you now have to get to grips with, but building it in, integrating it into your existing communication, basically adding value, extending reach. I think that's really great. And if you're looking for Jenny on Twitter, @JennyMet is your handle.
Yeah, Jenny, JenniMet.
Right, @JennyMet. Thank you very much.